Hello, I'm back home. It's been 2 days. I'm pretty jet lagged. It's been quite manic since I got back. I'm also trying to figure out the time difference and how to do the submissions. I hope I'm not late on it because on my phone it said 9 a.m. and it's 6 a.m. right now. I was able to tune into the reflections of my colleagues, classmates as well, and I think for me as well, this week's takeaway has been focalization and narration. At the residency, I was writing something. I am halfway through a novel that I've been writing, and I'm using a third person narration, and there are four characters, so they switch between their focalization as well, and with the fifth season, I think my reflections have been that it has been an interesting read for me because I feel like usually with fantasy, I'm unable to follow some of the terms that the writer introduces. But with this, I think the language is really exciting, and I've quite enjoyed my read. I'm almost, done with the novel. But I felt that one of my classmates were talking about intersectionality and marginal voices, and we do see that most of the emphasis on the book is on origins, is it pronounced? And there was a discussion question about it as well, and I said that it would have been interesting to see, for example, Damaya's parents' point of view. Maybe one of the parents could have been like, oh, how it is to have a child who is with powers or an origin, and that would have, I think, added a little value to the book. But I think I really have I've really been able to connect to Asun's perspective. The narration, the point of view that I was most able to connect with has been Esun's. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And I feel like maybe because she's a mother, and I had left my children back home, and she's away from her child, and it's not a similar situation because her child is dead, and one of her child has been taken away by her husband. So it's obviously not a similar situation, but I really like these two lines on page 115 where there's a child with her, and she says that maybe he's got supplies in there, doesn't matter, you really don't care anyway, he's not your kid, he just knows where your kid is. So it's really interesting to see that she is sort of at some point connecting with this child, but isn't really invested in his well-being because it's not her child, and her only concern is to get to her child and just sort of figure out where her husband has taken Nasoon at this point. Um, for me as well, I think it's been interesting to read the second person narration because I haven't had much experience reading it. But I have to say that I quite liked it. I'm also thinking of experimenting with it. This is something that I've never a technique I've never employed, a narration I've never used. And I think it would have flowed better if the point of views changed were either all in second person or all in third person. So this was kind of new for me, that a third person voice is narrated and then it switches to a second person. So your mind sort of switches between who's talking and who's talking like what. But I think overall it has been an interesting experience going through the book because of the multiple switches. As far as my research project is concerned, I had submitted some documents, and initially I was going to focus on themes of feminism and violence and just completely different direction that I've decided to take, and I've decided to take in the concept of a higher power or God, as Alice Walker makes her protagonist write letters to. So I did speak to the librarian at the University of Iowa, and she guided me through some of the text, some of the books, and I was able to buy some of the books here. So this is one book that I plan to read hopefully this week. This is another one. And this is a very interesting book that I've been meaning to read for a very long time. And I think this research project will just help me sort of navigate through this. So it's an ambitious load, but I think I should be able to manage. And I also want to start writing an outline because I feel really lost. I don't have a plan for the research paper, and the switch between topics also threw me off a little bit. But I've got text, and I usually feel comfortable when I have like hard copies of things rather than searching for articles online. I am not the most tech savvy person. So I'm going to do these, I'm going to read these and figure out how to connect it to my theme, and hopefully come up with an outline, some sort of outline this week. Finally back home, but still there's a lot of stuff to do back home as well. So yeah, that's me.